Angels, we invest in people.
I tell them this is your wine safe space and any questions are allowed.
We know all of the really good places to go to on the strip or off the strip.
We may see a sign, but then there's an action we can take when we trust that inner knowing.
This is Richard Gearhart.
And Elizabeth Gearhart.
Welcome to Passage to Profit, the Inventor Show, where we talk about small businesses, entrepreneurs, and the intellectual property that helps them flourish.
And if we got a great lineup today.
We do. Our first guest will be Sandy Wollman, who is an angel investor and will be talking about money and why it's good.
I guess some people need to hear that. No, but he's the guy you go to for help when you want to get your business to the next level.
And who else do we have on the show?
So I'm really happy about this. We have Brianne Cohen. So how do you do a wine tasting now? I went to her website. Very cool ideas there about virtual wine tastings. Catherine Kelly, have you ever been to Las Vegas and wondered where to eat? Well, wonder no more. And Alicia Myronic. And I don't know how to explain this, but do you ever have weird things happen to you?
Do you have a lot of weird things happening to you?
Well, I do live with you, dear. Anyway.
I saw that coming, by the way.
Maybe they're not so weird. I can't explain what she does, but it's very cool. You got to hear this because I've never heard anything like it.
Stay tuned and you'll hear lots of weird things.
Okay, so I do want to talk about something that's not quite so weird, but it's about intellectual property. We call this segment IP in the News.
This is one of my favorite segments.
Right. So who got the most patents in 2020? Like who's gotten the most patents every year for the last 20 years?
Let me guess. The U.S. government?
No. Wrong.
IBM.
IBM.
That's
so
right.
IBM got the most patents issued to it in 2020. So these patents were filed probably about 3 years ago, and they just issued in 2020. How many patents do you think they got?
I would guess, just by looking at my cheat sheet here, that they got 9,130.
So 9,000 patents in a year. Wow, that's a lot of work. So
they have changed their business model a lot. Instead of making hardware, they're offering business services. And that involves a lot of intellectual property. And
right. And the fastest growing category overall of patents being issued is determined by codes that the patent office uses. And IBM got almost 3,000 patents in this category. It's titled Computer Systems Based on Biological Models. So what that is the neural networks that people are using for programming based on how the brain works.
Artificial intelligence is just exploding now in tech. And so really just about it's being integrated into so many different projects, websites, software, and I'm sure IBM is really strong in that technical area. So
right, and Microsoft came in number 4, Intel number 5, Apple number 8, Amazon 11. Anyway, you can see the list if you go online. So I got this from fortune.com. The article was written by Jeff John Roberts. So thank you very much, Jeff. We really appreciate this information.
Yeah, thanks for pulling all of this information together. And once again, people in the tech community too often think that intellectual property is a sideshow or it's secondary. But the giants who are really doing a lot of innovation are protecting their innovations now. And so it's just something to keep in mind. If you're an entrepreneur, having a patent can do a lot for you. Some companies actually will purchase your patent. Google has a purchase patent program, for example. So it's all something that you need to keep in the back of your mind.
Right. Well, this year the PTO did an extra service for inventors where it has a place on its site where you can find out people who want to license patents. And so it kind of matches up inventors and licensees.
That is such a great idea because there are so many inventors that have good technologies and they just can't find a way to get it to the market. But if they put it on the site, maybe somebody who can will take an interest.
So now on to Patent Palooza. This is our fun with IP.
Yes, something completely different. So I'm not exactly sure how to introduce this because speaking of weird, it is a little on the weird side.
It's for men. Have you ever been really 3 sheets to the wind and had to go use a urinal?
Not ever. Not ever in my life.
This guy's got the invention for you.
So the inventor is Eric Page. And if you go to our Passage to Profit website or our YouTube channel
Or Instagram.
you'll be able to see a picture of the invention, but it's pretty easy to explain. The inventor invented a headrest where you plant your forehead that is attached to the wall above a urinal. So you can lean forward if you're a guy and steady yourself while you're doing your business there. And so personally, I've never really felt the need to use something like that, but I suppose if you're in a bar.
Well, the people around you may have thought you needed it. I don't know.
And I guess it just helps you aim. Some of the raunchy bars I've been in, I would be a little worried about putting my forehead against the wall for any number of reasons, but it's there. And there's two interesting things about this patent. The first was that he filed it in Europe as well as the United States. So I don't know if maybe he hopes to find a market there. I suppose Europeans have some of the same issues along those lines as Americans. And the other piece is that this patent was cited against two other urinal headrest patents.
So a lot of men have this problem.
So I guess this is going to become a thing where, you know, men are always talking about how they need extra support. And I think this is a good example of the type of support men need.
Well,
So-
please, with that, we get to introduce our guest.
Oh, no.
How do you follow that, Sandy?
Well,
There's
we need a
you
segue.
can't follow something like that. I just think that invention is about the 40 years too late for my use. That's for sure.
So, Sandy, I would love to introduce you. Sandy is one of these guys. I've only known him for a short period of time, but once you get to know him, you instantly feel like he's a great guy to know. And he was able to come on the show today last minute because we had a cancellation. So we're very appreciative for him being here. But before we get started with the interview, I'd like to just say a few things about Sandy. He is the co-founder and director of the Westchester Angels, which, if you're not familiar with angel investing, they're private people who invest money in startups. And we'll be talking to him about angel investing. But in addition, he also has an incredibly distinguished career. He's a partner in Carna Mills, which is a large textile converting company with clients like Ralph Lauren and the Guess company, the company that makes Guess jeans. And he is also a product development manager, or was a product development engineer, working at 3M. And he got a patent, yippee, on improved type of Velcro. And he worked next to Art Fry, who was the inventor of the Post-it note. And beyond all of this, or in addition, he's an athlete. He's swam 3 triathlons. He's swum around Manhattan.
Ironman
triathlon, swam around Manhattan, and as far as we know, didn't pick up too many diseases. And he's also swam the English Channel. He was the 470th person to swim the English Channel. And so, Sandy, my first question is, what do you think about when you're swimming the English Channel?
Think about getting to France.
That is truly amazing. Like, that is a
Thank you.
lifetime
Yeah.
accomplishment.
It was a very long day. Next time I want to go from England to France, I'm going to take the Channel. It's a lot easier. But what you think about is, when you're swimming in open water, it's not like you're running or you're biking. You can't use any of your senses. It's like putting your brain in a box and putting it underwater. It's just you and you and you. And, I covered a lot of the problems of the universe during that 13 hours and 6 minutes.
So I used to be a swimmer too. I still am a bit of a swimmer. And the reason I asked the question is because swimming can get to be, you have to figure out how to occupy your mind, counting flip turns and whatnot. So being in the water for, I don't know how long it took you, 15, 20 hours, whatever it was.
13 hours and 6 minutes.
Oh, that's a good time for the Channel. Yeah,
13 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cold water. It's the whole
Right.
thing. It's a cold water swimming. It's 60 degrees and there's no wetsuit allowed. You're not allowed to have any advantages over Matthew Webb, who was the first gentleman to swim the English Channel in 1875. And he swam the English Channel breaststroke because there was no freestyle on a diet of warm beef, brandy, and ale, which is really not a really good way to deal with cold water. But, and just when you think you've done something incredible, there was a young lady, and I forget her name, I apologize, who is a breast cancer survivor. And last year swam the English Channel 5 times in a row.
Whoa.
England to France, 52 hours.
Wow.
So I will tell you that the very last thing on my mind after 13 hours and struggling with cold water and waves and jellyfish and fatigue and pain and misery, the very last thing I thought about when I hit France was swimming back to England. Is just no way.
Well,
No way. She did it 5 times, 52 hours. And, there's no limit to the human capabilities. Once somebody's motivated, there's absolutely no limit of what we can accomplish. So my hat's off to anybody that, runs the first 10K or runs or swims a mile. Whatever it is, it's an individual accomplishment, and there's no limit to what we can accomplish if you're properly motivated.
Let's talk a little bit about angel investing. And you're the head of the Westchester Angels. You started the group, and tell us a little bit about what angel investors do. A lot of our audience is interested in starting their own companies, and of course, getting money is sometimes a piece of that. So why don't you describe the angel process for our viewers?
I have to tell you, it's such a fascinating space. There's no shortage of startups looking for funding, especially in the New York City and Westchester area. About 10 years ago, just a real brief history, my financial planets became aligned. I'm very privileged, and I started a nonprofit in Westchester just to help small business owners not make some of the same mistakes I've made in business. And I spent 25 years in the garment center, and that business had closed a while ago. And I dealt with some of the most challenging people on the planet. And I just wanted to prevent small business owners from making some of the same mistakes I made. And we help people that don't want to open up a local deli, a hair salon. You mean, what's an LLC? Why do I have to open up an LLC? Those kind of basic questions. And we work through the United Way and an SBA lender, one of the largest in the area, Community Capital New York. They fed us clients. And I had 17 carefully vetted volunteers that weren't selling their services under our umbrella. And we helped about 65, 70 companies. And we started running into companies that had scalable business models that were suitable for angel investing. We didn't know much about angel investing. My co-partner, Jeff Lair, and I, literally over a couple of beers on a Sunday, we planted the flag and said, now we're the Westchester Angels. And we treated ourselves like a startup. So back to answer your question, Richard, angel investing, we're the first people in the ladder that a startup is going to come to for funding after friends and family. So after Uncle Fred gives the grandson or the granddaughter a couple of bucks because we love you, I have no idea what you're doing, we're the next ones in line. We have the most risk. We're dealing with a lot of pre-revenue companies. Sometimes we're dealing with revenue companies that are just coming up the right side of the hockey stick. There's a little bit of revenue, so there's some market validation. So it's, everybody knows about Shark Tank on TV, and Shark Tank's done a really good job of educating the public about what angel investing is about, but we're real life angel investors. And we fund startups from A to Z. It's a really fascinating space. There's over 100 accelerators and incubators in Manhattan alone. It's a tremendous feeding system for the angel groups in the New York area. In addition to running the Westchester Angels, I also started an initiative called the New York Area Angel Alliance, which brings together all of the leaders of all of the angel groups in the tri-state area, the Golden Seeds, the 37 Angels, the Gangels, the Harvard Business Alumni School. And we all get together every month for monthly deal flow calls. So we're very fortunate that we're able to do that. And the Westchester Angels were the new guys on the block, and we're getting really good deal flow because we're getting referrals from some of the biggest angel groups in New York City. And it's going to take me out to my old age. There's no shortage of startups. It's a fun space. Certainly intellectual property is part of the conversation a lot of times when we do due diligence. There's no shortage of startups looking for funding. No
Sandy,
shortage.
can I ask you, do you specifically do tech? Do you do all different technologies? Will you do fashion? Will you do consumer products, or are you in a niche?
We look at all industries. We don't go to biotech because that's a very long market validation process, clinical trials. So we're not looking at chemicals or molecules going through trials, but we're pretty open to every other industry. We just partnered with Jumpstart Angels in New Jersey, back in your backyard, and we're sharing deal flow with them, and that is a very exciting relationship. But most angel groups would be open to most industries. And then it really gets down to the expertise that you have within your membership once you get into due diligence.
So if I'm a CEO and I'm starting a business and I want to approach an angel group for funding, what do I need to know?
The first thing you need to know is that angels only make money if there's an exit. So if you're looking to start a business and grow it, but not to sell it or have an exit, angel investors would not be the place for you to look for funding. We only make money upon an exit.
And by exit, you mean the sale of the company?
That's correct.
Of some sort, either to a larger company or...
Yeah. And usually if a startup says that my exit is an IPO, we usually say next. That rarely happens. I haven't seen it happen yet in 5 years with the angels investing, even in the tri-state area with all the other angel groups. So it's you have to want, and in your slide deck, you're just starting your business and you have to tell us simple-minded angels how you're going to sell it. It's kind of like an oxymoron. You're just starting it, but you have to give us a compelling reason of how you're going to scale your business, and what your plans are to sell it. Ideally a 3 to 5 year window, and that's what angel investors look for. If you're looking to grow your business but you're not looking to sell it, angels would not be for you.
So Sandy, do you give a lot of counseling is my first question. And then my second question is, what percentage of the exit funds do you take?
It depends upon the cap table. Usually our investors are going to invest anywhere from 10 to 25,000. Some other angels will put more in. So if you're investing, it's a constant struggle between increased valuation and dilution in subsequent rounds. I don't know if I could put it in terms of a percentage. Every deal is always different. It's a really collaborative space. All the angel groups in the tri-state area, we collaborate. It's not competition. And this is a risky investment. On average, 70% of angel investments across the country are going to fail. So you shouldn't be investing with house money. You have to be an accredited investor. But we do 2 things or 3 things to help eliminate the risk. We do a lot of due diligence. We have a lot of fun along the way. We're serious about investing, but we add a lot of value. We want to help startups succeed, whether we write a check out or not. And we learned a long time ago that you can't help people that don't want help. We've run into 23-year-olds that have never received a paycheck before in their life, and they seem to have amassed all the business knowledge on the planet at that ripe young age of 23. I'm 62. I'm still learning. I keep learning. So we can't help people that don't want help. 99% of the people that come to us, the startups, we're here to help startups. I spend, after this call, I'm on 2 calls this afternoon, referrals of companies that are looking to start in the angel process. And I get a lot of enjoyment by helping startups set their expectations properly. You know, if there's a gestation period, if you're looking to raise $500,000, that's going to take you 6 months from angels, you know, and there's a process. You know, you're going to apply to angels on a platform. Usually it's GUST, G-U-S-T, or Proceeder, and the startups will put their applications on that platform. And then every angel group has the same sort of procedure. We'll screen those applications. We'll interview, our screening committee will interview 8 startups in order to select the 3 that are most compelling to pitch to our investors. And then the only objective for the founder or the startup is to continue to get to the next conversation. You know, you want your application to stick out so you get screened. You want to do a good job in pitching and your presentation so you get selected to pitch to investors. And then your only obligation is to get into due diligence. And that due diligence could take weeks or months, depending upon the complexity, the logistics, vacations, and then there's a document review. So we advise startups, if you're looking to raise money, raise enough money that's going to last you a year or year and a half, because there's a time involved in raising money from angels, and that's going to take a lot of time away from running your business. So we want to see startups raise whatever they're going to raise, and then have enough money, unless there's a significant trigger that's going to significantly increase your valuation. We want them to spend the time to raise money and then concentrate 100% on running their business. And
So
we're here to help along the way.
What makes you think the business is saleable? What are sort of some common characteristics of successful deals that you've seen?
It's all, business is 100% about people. We invest in good people. We invest in good teams. We would rather invest in a great team with a good idea than a great idea and a bad team. You know, Warren Buffett said it best: you can't make a good deal with a bad team. You can't do it. We invest in people. And that's why we had, before COVID, had a geographic limitation of, you know, about 100-mile radius, because we want to spend time with the startup. We want to know, can you run a business? I mean, if you can't answer a question from an angel, or if you can't put a compelling story in an 8-minute pitch, how are you going to run a business? We invest in people. And that's the best answer I could give you, Richard, is, you know, angels, we invest in people. And I don't care if you run a local deli or you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It's all about people. The business always starts at the top. The karma of the company is always about the people that run the company.
That's a great insight. I guess different founders will connect with different investors. And so that may be part of it, is the chemistry, but also it's maybe experience and really taking the time to study your business and your market and coming up with really good reasons why you're going to be successful. So I've certainly sat in on my share of angel groups, and really successful CEOs run the gambit in terms of their personalities. You have the really geeky guys, you have the powerful women, you have just a whole range of personalities. Yeah. But when they talk about their business, at least, you can say, well, yeah, that makes sense. And you've thought about this. And I think you've got something here. And I think you can make it to the goal line, right? Yeah.
And, you know, it's such a thriving community here in the tri-state area. You know, you have the Gangels, which is a huge enterprise. They're the LGBTQ plus angel group. They're going national. You have the 37 Angels, the Golden Seeds, that primarily invest in female-led startups. It's a thriving community. Every angel group has its own temperament and personality, but we're all have the same motivation to help. And at the Westchester Angels, we don't really care if you're from Venus or Mars. We don't really care who you sleep with. We don't see the color of your skin. It's the color of your skin, to quote Bob Marley, is of no more significance to us than the color of your eyes. We only see shades of green. That's all we're looking at. We're only looking at shades of green. Can you run a business?
Right.
And can we make money? Is there a possibility that we're going to be one of the few investors in the startup where there's going to be an exit and we're going to have a return? Most angel investors create a well-diversified portfolio like you would do in your 401k, because we're going to have a lot of failures. And, angels, we say no a lot, and I'm the one from the Westchester Angels. I get to say no a lot. I've heard 1,000 pitches in the last year and a half. I think I've written 4 or 5 checks out. I got to tell you, I hear a lot of really bad pitches. Like you just want to scream sometimes, but cream rises to the top, and we don't say no. We say au revoir. Come back to us when you've made some more progress. Yeah, we're here to help, because I understand the pain of a failed business. I lived through a pain of a failed business. When our business, we had a thriving business in Manhattan in the garment center. We were large fabric suppliers, as Richard said, and I saw our business explode from the outside in and the inside out. So I have a soft heart for startups, and a lot of people don't realize this, but sometimes it's a leap of faith. You have an idea, you have this passion, and maybe you leave your 9-to-5 job with a paycheck and a 401k and your health benefits, and you're taking a leap of faith to start a startup with an unknown future. I get that. So
Yeah.
we help wherever we can.
Well, I think it's a good idea for anybody who wants to pitch to angels or to anybody to go watch a bunch of pitches first.
Oh.
And I wanted to give Kenya a chance to ask a question.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. I just had a question. What are some characteristics of a bad pitch?
That's a conversation for cocktails one day. But a characteristic of a bad pitch is talking about your business from your point of view, not your audience's point of view. Everybody thinks their thing is the best thing since sliced bread. We don't really want to hear about the motivation you had in 4th grade of why this happened. That's not insignificant to us. The biggest mistake that startups make in their pitch is they give it from their point of view, not the investor's point of view. And you have to make it simple. We're average-minded people with different backgrounds, and sometimes if it's a complicated business, you have to make it simple. Another couple of things are all about slide decks. We don't read business plans. It's an 8-minute pitch. Some angel groups will give you 10 minutes, some 6. Your slide deck has to enhance what you're speaking of and not take away your audience attention. So simple things like the font is too small or the slide is too complicated. Now I'm spending time looking at the slide and not listening to you pitch. And the most important thing that startups leave out is how they're going to execute. This is the product. I'm making another drink that's going to go on Whole Foods shelf, or I'm creating something that, new and novel. I may or may not have IP protection. But I want to know how you're going to scale your business, how you're going to go from here when you have no revenue or just a little bit of revenue to $20 million or $30 million, so you can get bought out by $500,000, $1 billion. And we have a promise we make to all the startups that we invest in. On an exit, you buy the yacht, the Westchester Angels will buy the beer.
So do you have an example of somebody that went through your program and bought the yacht?
Not yet. We're really close. We're really close. We have a couple of pearls in our oyster. The best investment we've made, and I actually led around with 5 different angel groups. It was in a company called Oculus. They're in the fintech business. Okay. And if you our small business lender, you're going to get uploaded documents of bank statements and things to review the application. And they actually have a back office in India. And I did a lot of business in India. We actually checked out their back office in India as our due diligence. And we had a saying, the sun never sets on the Westchester Angels due diligence effort, because we actually had a friend of mine visit their back office. But we invested in a $5 million valuation. Sam Bobley, the CEO, really a great young entrepreneur, named Forbes 30 under 30. Their last raise was over $200 million valuation. They're going to get bought out. It's just a matter of when. That's the pearl in our oyster. They've been named the largest, fastest growing fintech company in the United States.
What did he do right, Sandy?
He surrounded himself with a good team of people. He understands people. He's grown his company incrementally. He's kept angel investors informed so we could add additional value if possible. But he understood that business is about people. And you have to get rid of the wrong people right away, and you have to encourage the right people to do the right thing. It only takes one bad person in a room to stink up the entire room. So he understands how to scale a business because he's hired the right people to help him to scale. And I think he's got really good partners. He's got a good business model. And here's a situation, it's all artificial intelligence. It's not a lot of IP in this business. But he's going to get bought out. It's just a matter of where he wants to draw the line.
So Sandy, this has been such a fascinating conversation, and we really appreciate the depth of your knowledge and your experience. I know that you've helped a lot of our audience out there. Unfortunately, we have to cut to a commercial, and we'll be right back. We hope that you can stay with us for the rest of the program and maybe advise some of our presenters on, some tips and tricks and things that might help them out. So
I'm here to help, and I would be glad to stay on the line to help however I can. Thank you, Richard.
That's fantastic. So you are listening to Passage to Profit on WOR 710, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Richard and Elizabeth Gerhardt, our special guest today, Sandy Wollman. And now we're on to Power Move with Kenya Gibson from iHeart. Kenya.
So today on Power Move, we're going to be highlighting Glenn Contave and Idris Brewster. They are two ed tech inventors who just launched this platform called Unsung. And Unsung is a multiplayer augmented reality activity where kids can learn about culture. So basically, they're going to be cataloging American monuments and, statues, and making it this like reimagined experience for kids, specifically middle schoolers, to learn about American culture and history. And one thing that they've been able to do already with this platform is they were able to get a grant from Verizon for $1 million, who's going to help the funding and the launch and get this into middle school classrooms moving forward. So they are today's Power Move today.
From an angel investor's point of view, anytime a startup that would be seeking angel investing money, grants are a beautiful thing for the startup. They get the needed funding, but from an investor's point of view, it doesn't dilute our investment. We're working with a company. They got $1.6 million in grants. That's a beautiful thing all the way around for everybody. Everybody wins.
Great.
So Kenya, Unsung, any idea why they chose that name? Is it to find monuments and people that have not really gotten the attention they deserve?
Correct. So what they found, specifically with a lot of Black history and cultural moments, there's a lot of it that goes untaught in the traditional curriculum and, the American education system. So they wanted to kind of bring to life some of those moments that, have been missed culturally or have not been brought up in past, education. I think we typically learn about like the Civil War. We learn about all these different traditional things and that have happened, and they wanted to create a really cool and interactive way for kids to learn about American culture and Black history. So that's where the unsung piece comes from. So you're right on target, Richard.
Awesome.
That's really incredible. And how can people find out about the project?
So you can actually go, Forbes did a write-up on it. It's under their Movers and Shakers platform. So they wrote about them there. And you can also go to Unsung. You can follow them on Instagram. And then you can also find the founders there, which is Glenn Contave and Idris Brewster. So if you Google them, they will pop right up.
That's great. So we can hardly wait for that. And now it's time to move on to Fireside. My darling and charming wife, Elizabeth, has started a company, a directory for businesses and
Video directory.
a video directory. Yes. So why don't you tell us what's going on in Fireside?
I will, but first I have a little surprise for you.
What's that?
We are taping this on January 13th. Now, January 14th is a very important date for Richard and me. It is our wedding anniversary. So I have this big kiss for
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Oh, that's
thank
so
you.
nice.
That is so sweet.
The anniversary a day early.
I'll be
so-
happy. Can I give you a kiss?
Not on here.
I'm going to anyway.
Okay.
So,
anyway.
well, happy anniversrsary.
So he
I've got a little rag here for cleaning your glasses, but I don't think I can top this. So,
So he is
Happy
my
anniversary.
he is my only investor right now in Fireside. So
well, why are you taking it and putting it on that side of the table? It's
because you
mine.
handed it to me.
It's
Anyway,
mine.
so Fireside is the first video directory for small business. And my end game, my goal for it is for it to be the Wikipedia of small business by video. And yes, Sandy, my plan from the very beginning was to sell this. And there's no way. And I'm scaling it right now. There's a whole bunch of different pieces to it, but I am happy to announce I'm doing some of the interviews myself. And I started it as a way to make people uncomfortable on video, have somebody they could talk to so they'd be more comfortable on video and they could get a good video themselves representing their business. Now, since COVID, we moved out of the studio onto Zoom, which actually helped Fireside because everybody's used to being on Zoom now. So I'm getting tons of videos, but somebody insisted on paying me. So I was doing it for free because the economy is in a shambles right now. But I got my first payment for Fireside. Yay!
Yay.
Yes. So I'm continuing forward with this. I've been building it I filed my LLC last spring. Once I hit 100 videos, I'll move on to the next phase, which will be marketing. So there's a whole lot to it, but anybody with a business can be on it. They can send me a pre-done video, or I can interview them if they want a different way to talk about their business, because the way I do my interviews is really different than the way other people do their interviews. It's all about you and your business, and I interview you as if I were going to hire you. So anyway, I'll let you know more next week. I am so excited about our next presenter. So this is so cool. How do you do a wine tasting in the time of quarantine? Well, Brianne Cohen has a virtual wine tasting way to do it. And I went on her website and she has so creative ideas. I'm so excited to hear her talk about it. So welcome, Brianne.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much.
And I just want to say that I know how to taste wine, not virtually. So.
I know how to drink wine.
But please tell us about your project.
Of course, of course. So pretty much pre-pandemic in the before times, my business had two arms. I was an event producer, large scale events, mostly nonprofit, LGBT focused. As we know, that is not happening right now. You know, that's that side of my business, which was the majority of my business, is in hibernation. And early on in the pandemic, I mean, my first virtual wine tasting was on March 19th. And when I look back, it just seems like 100 years ago. But I just had this idea. I'm home. I'm a project manager, event producer, type A. I had to put everything to the side. And I'm like, what do I do now? I am a certified sommelier, which means I spent a lot of money and a lot of time studying wine and learning how to drink professionally. I was doing wine education classes before the pandemic. I would go into people's private homes and do wine tasting with friends and family. And then I would also get hired and do wine tastings in corporate spaces, sort of as a team building activity. So imagine, getting a sales team together and maybe we do a blending workshop where everyone has to create their own blend and I get a judge on the best blend. And salespeople tend to be very competitive. So that's very fun. Or a blind tasting, for example. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and I thought, okay, let's just see if we can do this virtually. I signed up for a Zoom account like we all did in mid-March last year, tried to figure it out. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this public tasting. I'm going to do it free. I'm going to just see what happens. And, maybe my mom will sign up and a couple of my friends. I had 120 people sign up for that class. And I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to do here? And I just sort of winged it and figured it out and realized that we were all, even March of last year, we were all striving to connect in different ways, right? We were scared. We were very uncertain with what was going on in the world. So we wanted to try and connect with people. And what I learned over the next few months was that having some sort of a shared sensory experience on Zoom took it to the next level, right? We all quickly got on Zoom, whether it's for friends and family, business meetings and things like that, but it is a little flat. It's a little one-dimensional. And so you have to sort of have some kind of a shared experience. In my case, what I did is I actually sourced with wineries. I sourced wineries that were doing these little baby bottles of wine. So instead of having people having to commit and buy 3, 4, 5, 6 bottles of wine, which is expensive, number one, and also who's going to open that much wine at one time, especially if you're sheltering in place.
There are people out there that would do that.
Every time I say that, there's always a few that are like, well, that's no problem in my house, But, it was one of those like, okay, I wanted to mimic that tasting room experience. We were all enriching ourselves at home. So, what did that feel like when you walked into a wine tasting room and they gave you the glasses with all the little pours? And I was like, how are we going to do this with these big bottles? And nobody's going to open 20 glasses of wine on one night on one call. So I found the wineries that were, literally repurposing their bottles. I call these little Alice in Wonderland bottles, and you get these beautiful kits shipped to your house. And I, as a certified sommelier, lead the group in a wine tasting. So we get to have that shared experience. I'm teaching people and helping people become better wine tasters, help improve their wine drinking experience. My style is sort of, fun, very fun, approachable. How I'm talking to y'all right now is exactly how I approach my classes. And I do mostly corporate tasting. So this is sort of broken up the monotony of Zoom happy hour every Friday with your work, right? That lasted in the beginning. That was okay. Week 52, we need something else.
You need a little something different.
Yeah, you need to jazz it up. So they're doing things like cooking classes and wine tasting and trivia and things like that. And it's just really, really fun for people to be able to, like I said, that sensory experience I think is important where, you can talk to, I can be like, okay, Sandy, what are you getting on this Pinot Noir? And then, Ken, you might have some same thoughts and feelings about it. And it's just really fun to have groups, whether it's 10 people, I've done up to 300 people at one time, and we're all tasting and enjoying the wines together. So that's
wow, that sounds like so much fun. So let me ask you a business type question. Are you planning for this to be a lifestyle business, or are you thinking of trying to grow it into something bigger? And if you're trying to grow it, how are you going to do it?
Yeah, of course. I have a lot of thoughts around that. I mean, my business pre-pandemic, like I mentioned, had 2 arms: event production and wine education. I also write about wine. I judge in international wine competitions, things like that. So I do see this as part of a lifestyle business. And yes, the intention and idea is to grow and scale. And that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out now, because right now the service and the product is me, right? My education, my style. There's a lot of people doing what I'm doing. I'm not the only one. And so when you think about scaling, obviously you're thinking about who can, how do you replicate yourself? How do you hire people or educators who can do the same thing I do and provide the same vibe maybe that people are seeking out? Because there's a lot of people know a lot about wine. There's a lot of people that teach wine. But there's been a gap in the market, and that you have sort of the old school way of doing it and then the new school way. I'm definitely more in the new school vibe. It's not, I'm not coming on the Zoom call and intimidating people and talking about Grand Cru, Bordeaux wines that they will never taste in their lives. We're sitting there and talking about, the questions I get mostly are there actually plums and cherries in the wine? When I talk about things that I smell and taste in wine, people don't actually know. They've never felt comfortable asking those questions. So I tell them this is your wine safe space and any questions are allowed. But yes, the scaling, that's kind of actually where I'm at now, that struggle of, do I keep this this business as myself, just solely doing the education, or do I hire other educators to replicate what I do? And I'm also, in a unique position, I think, like some entrepreneurs, where you have pivoted your business during COVID. And so now my business is 100% virtual. That's what it is. So what does the reverse pivot look like? How is this business going to survive in a post-COVID world, right? When everyone's vaccinated in a year or so or whatever, and we're moving around in the world, what does that look like?
Well, certainly there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. That is really important part of the conversation. But I didn't hear the magic word. I want to sell my company.
Yeah.
Scale, that's really important. Everybody wants to scale their business and get money coming in. But if I'm an angel investor looking at you as a potential investment, I want to know. And again, this is a real challenge for all these startups, is you're just starting your business, then you got to tell us how you're going to sell it, or if you want to sell it.
I totally understand. And the unique thing in the wine industry, like I mentioned, there have been all sorts of different communicators about wine over the last, I would say, 30 years. A lot of the big people are, for example, Robert Parker is a big one, Stephen Spurrier, people, sort of household names. Like I mentioned, that's sort of the old school way. And we have millennials now that are obviously of drinking age. They've been of drinking age for a while, and things are changing.
Even pre-drinking age.
Exactly. And I do think that there is a unique space for someone or a group of people or a business to come in and be able to communicate effectively to this younger generation about a product that is typically considered, expensive, elitist, out of reach, out of touch.
With these virtual environments that you've been doing these testings in, what is the most strange thing that's happened or experience you've had doing these virtual tastings? Because it's like people and alcohol and Zoom, and just curious.
Yep. So I'll give two quick examples. I have more than once, I've had people drink right out of the bottles. Like I'm watching on the Zoom call, and it'll be a sales team and their clients. And then people are just sitting there drinking. I'm like, oh my, they're okay. The first time I saw that, it was hilarious. And then I see somebody will ask, can I just drink out of the bottle? And I said, you're not the first one. And then also, kind of like you mentioned, alcohol's involved. So there's a lot going on in the world, lots of uncertainty. So sometimes, you have when in the Q&A session and stuff towards the end, people start talking about world issues and current affairs, and that's just not a great, virtual vino is not a great place for that right now.
Politics and alcohol frequently don't mix well.
Yeah.
So,
Brianne, we had this guy on the show a little while ago, and he had this new app, Instigate AI. And basically what it allows you to do is to create a chat bot of yourself. And so you train it to reply to people the way that you would. So maybe down the road, if things stay virtual, that might be one way for you to scale. I don't know.
You could be a virtual sommelier. That would be a real technical challenge, but what the heck, that might be worth something.
Yeah, people are doing it. I watch that. I see people that, I'm a certified sommelier and you pay me X amount per month and you get, 5 text messages, an email, a newsletter, 3 wine suggestions, whatever it is. And in my mind, I see that. I'm like, that's not big enough because it can't always be me. I'm not going to be sitting there answering the text messages and things, right? So that's a great idea. Thank you.
Brianne, really quickly, you had mentioned the fact that you're an educator. Are you planning on offering any services in the education space? So say someone wanted to get certified as a sommelier, like what does that look like? And is that something you thought of adding into your business model?
It's interesting you say that, Kenya, because there is definitely room for that right now. There are 2 main certifying bodies in wine education. It's the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, which is the school that I was a part of, very old school based in London, lots of stodgy people. And then you also have the Court of Master Sommeliers, which is, if you've seen the movie Somm on Netflix, that's sort of the origin of that group. Same idea, London-based, kind of old school. They're also under major fire and criticism for issues around sexual harassment, racial disparity in the organization and the board. So yes, there is a space because you have these two groups, and we're sort of our hands are tied that we have to go to one of those certifying bodies. So there is space for younger, diverse, more dynamic voices in this industry, especially on the certifying and education side. So
do you still like wine?
That's a great question. And it's funny, I always tell people I taste a lot of wine. I don't drink a lot of wine. When I first got started, yes, every wine you have to taste, you get samples and you're like, wow. And then you find yourself drinking the wine every night. And then you realize that that's not a great idea. So I taste a lot of wine. I don't drink a lot of wine. I use a Coravin system, which is it allows me to actually tap into a bottle of wine without opening it. So it's like a syringe that goes in the wine. So I can just taste what I need, but I'm not guzzling glasses of wine every night, which would not be good.
Okay, we're running out of time, Brianna, but it has been absolutely marvelous speaking with you. You've got a great thing going. Love your personality. I think having you at one of our parties would be so totally
Will be so totally
Yes.
fun. We are doing
That would be
this.
great.
So welcome and how can people get in touch with you before we sign off here?
Of course, you can find me at briannecohen.com, and on all the social media channels, my handle is Somspirations, wine inspirations from a
That's a
sommelier.
very clever name. You should trademark that if you
Right.
haven't.
And Brianne is spelled BrianneCohen, BrianneCohen.com. And I assume you're on LinkedIn too.
Correct.
All right. Well, great. Well, we'll be right back with more Passage to Profit right after this message. Welcome back, everybody. Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gerhardt and our special guest, Sandy Wollman. We've been having just the best time, and we just got done talking about wine tasting, which if you haven't had a chance to hear the full program, you need to go to our website where you can pick up a podcast. You can go to the iHeart application where you can also download the podcast, plus all the other podcast sites. What are they again? They're
Stitcher, Spotify. But also go to our YouTube channel, please, and please subscribe. You can see everybody's beautiful faces there.
and plus you get the visuals too.
Yeah,
you know?
we cut in visuals of things like the funny patent we talked about today.
Yeah, if you can't wait to see that, then
Yeah.
you should tune in.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go over that old horse.
So yes,
again.
listen to the podcast. Go to our YouTube channel. It's kind of fun to see the people. And now we have somebody really great coming up with a fun thing.
I know, more foodie type of things. So we have with us Catherine Kelly, and whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? So Catherine's going to be talking about what she does in Vegas that stays in Vegas. So welcome to the show, Catherine. Tell us what you're up to.
Thank you. So what we do, we host food tours, and a food tour is essentially like a city tour, and you go from restaurant to restaurant exploring the city, but through food. And so it kind of gives you a more intimate look into the city so that you get to try what the locals really like, what the locals get to see, instead of having that like really extravagant Las Vegas experience. So a lot of visitors come to Vegas and they think that there's only gaming, drinking, nightclubs, pool parties, like stuff like that. And I mean, even if you came now
Sounds
anyway,
horrible, by the way, but
I know, well, that's what the city, I mean, that's why people come to the city. And so people don't really know that anything else exists. And so, well, I mean, even right now, like the city's not open. I mean, it's open, but like no nightclubs or anything big like that's you can really do anyway. You can game and stuff, but this gives visitors another look into what Las Vegas has to offer. And me being born and raised from Las Vegas, I saw the city definitely from a different angle, and I got to see it grow and I got to see it change. But locals don't ever go to the Strip. And then when we do, and I actually worked on the Strip for a very long time, but when we do go on the Strip, we don't do really what the tourists do. We have our favorite places, and all of the industry workers, like we know all of the really good places to go to on the Strip or off the Strip. So I decided I wanted to show people what they actually need to be doing to get like a real Las Vegas experience if they wanted to see the city in a more intimate way. So everything's kind of based around food, but I mean, it's very important, especially like in this day and age. Everybody's a huge foodie. Everybody wants to know like where's the best place to eat, and whether it's on the Strip or off the Strip, we have tours for you. And we take you to probably, depending on the tour, but an average about 5 places. And you try a bunch of small dishes that those restaurants have to offer for a complete meal. So yeah, it's an amazing experience, and you could try a bunch of different cuisines, a bunch of variety from like super casual to high end. You can get cocktails, drinks, wine. With your experience, sometimes you get to meet the chef, and then you get to meet like real Las Vegas locals and just have this like feeling like I'm going to a big city. I don't know about anything that's here, but I now have my tour guide who is like my friend, and we show you around and we give you a good time, and we give you like real genuine answers of what it's like to live in Las Vegas.
That sounds really great. So it's really interesting that you bring this up, because when I think of Las Vegas, I do think of the glitz and the glamour and the gambling and the way it's presented in TV shows. I didn't appreciate that there's another side. So how would you sort of characterize the real Las Vegas, the culture? What's the food like? Is it have a special type of, special cuisine culture, for example, that people wouldn't know about?
The food culture in Vegas has changed quite a bit. So when I was growing up, I remember it was all about like large portions, cheap meals. You just want to like get your food and get going. So I remember some of the places don't exist anymore, but like there was this place called the Westward Ho. It was a casino right in the middle of the strip across from the Riviera. And they used to have like $1 foot-long hot dogs. And this thing was like this big, and you could get it for like $1. And they would have like dollar shrimp cocktails. You could go anywhere and get like a breakfast for 99 cents, 2 eggs, sausage, bacon. So it was all about like best bargain. That does not exist anymore. About 10 years ago, maybe about 15, we started to see like a little bit of a change towards the celebrity dining culture. And then it was all about these huge chefs, like big name chefs, and they would super upscale high-end restaurants. And so then you kind of had this like extreme, either like you're spending top dollar for high-end celebrity chef dining experience, or you have like a super low end. But now what's happened is a lot of chefs who trained in all of these restaurants, they're super talented, but they realize that there's this market and an evolving scene here in the city. And so they've left the strip, they've opened up their own restaurants, and they've taken their creativity and they've opened up, they've done marvelous things with the food and food culture and how creative they are. So now we have a little bit of everything. And actually Vegas, I would say now, is like locally chef driven.
Catherine, good luck on your new business venture. It's very exciting. How do you get your platform in front of your users? I mean, are you working with hotel concierges, or how do you know who's coming into Vegas so they could use your platform?
We use other platforms such as like TripAdvisor, Expedia, Airbnb. And we also have a website. So for like people looking for things to do. So I would say that those are our biggest avenues for people to come and find us.
Right. So how do you drive traffic to your website? That's really important.
Just SEO optimization and Google ads. So those are always changing and evolving. So we're always trying to figure those out.
Have you thought about reaching out to big hotel concierges? Because, we're travelers and we usually rely on the concierge to tell us where to go. I would think that would be a pretty good way for you to spread the word about your services through hotel concierges.
This has been done. I mean, I've tried to do this. So there are a little bit of issues because the hotels, they kind of control the market. And so if you're not going to their restaurants and staying inside their property, they really don't want to sell your tours. So it's difficult. So we do, and you just have to keep trying and pushing. But to get the concierge to actually want to sell your tours, that's difficult. And
yeah,
I mean, whether or not
they're getting money from the back end from the restaurants as well. I know how that all works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody works off a commission. So, I mean, if anybody here is going to be like selling your tours, like everybody wants commission, but sometimes it's more than just that. Like they want you to stay in the hotels. And we might take them to one restaurant in their hotel, but we're going to take them to everywhere because we want to give you like an actual true Las Vegas experience, like that the locals would go to.
But, it sounds to me though, that there is a market for your service for sure. And how long have you been in business, and have you served done a lot of tours?
Yeah, so we started about 5 years ago. And so we really, really started growing. And I think food tours in general, like it gives other people an option for things to do in the city. And since gaming and like nightclubs haven't been as popular for the younger crowd coming into Las Vegas, we offer like that other option to do. And people really, really love it. Like we've gotten amazing feedback. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So like totally, like everything was shut down. And so a big obstacle was just like, well, we can't run, like there's nothing we could do. And I did think about doing like a virtual experience, like over the computer, like a classroom or something. And maybe like, you guys can give me some feedback on what you would like to see, like food related that a food tour company could do, because obviously like we wouldn't be able to give
Right.
you.
I think Kenya has some ideas. I can see she's ready to talk.
Yeah, I've been noodling. Thank you, Elizabeth, because I was going to ask you. I mean, the restaurant industry here in New York has been like it's really bad here for them, right?
We've heard.
And I'm not sure what type of restrictions you're facing out there, but I was thinking about what a virtual option would look like, and I was thinking what a partnership would look like with the local restaurants via a DoorDash or a Grubhub, where you were able to partner with them and give these experiences, but people can actually have it brought to their home. And then I've had a couple of things that I've done with Twitter, where Twitter has done events like that, where it's not really related to food, but they've had some kind of social gathering. And then everybody gets like this voucher towards Grubhub. And then, you get the food piece that's there. So I wonder if there's something from a partnership standpoint with your local restaurants where you could do these virtual activations and they would be partnering with you to get the food in people's home, and you're kind of leading that experience as a tour.
Okay. Or like maybe like a class with a chef, like, is that seems like something that you would be interested in? And then if we do something like that, do you have people pay to take a virtual class?
I mean, I think a virtual thing with a chef could be cool. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do that kind of already, but I've never had an experience where I've been able to try like, I don't know, multiple things at the same time. It's similar to what Brianne's doing with her wine, but like on the food side, where you're able to sample different, maybe it's like Indian food and it's the best, Mexican restaurant you have. And it's like a sampling of local area restaurants, and like, you kind of get a course of 3 that you get to, try from. And then maybe a chef walks you through a tasting, and there's an educational piece plus that food piece, like just kind of making it more interactive for people.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
like
then
pancakes in the shape of a roulette wheel, right?
right. Yeah. And I think where the
Or a
food,
poker
where I'm
chip,
thinking like the DoorDashes and the Grubhubs, they already have a built-in platform of users, right? So would there be an opportunity for you to leverage this following from a marketing standpoint? Like they're already talking to people who order from them all the time. And probably a lot of these local restaurants, and they don't have an interactive component to other than just the delivery piece. You know what I mean?
Kenya's right, because really the beauty of what you do is you can sample a lot of different kinds of foods, just small portions. And that's what I like. It's like tapas, but from different restaurants, like each piece of tapas from a different restaurant, right? And so if you bring it to them from all these different restaurants, then maybe they sample it one night and then the next night they order, and maybe they have kids, and so the kid isn't going to want to eat the pizza or the Indian food, but the kid loves the Mexican food. So you get something for everybody, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
and I think
great
people
idea.
are tired of ordering out. Like I feel like when we order out, we order the same stuff all the time, but no one's marketing to us with anything different. So
Great idea, Kenya.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
thank
Passage
you.
to Profit is the place for fantastic information and great
Website.
ideas. Catherine, where can people reach you?
You can visit our website for information on the tours at tastebuzzvegas.com. We also have social media, so Facebook and Instagram at Taste Buzz Food Tours. And then if you wanted to get a hold of me personally, Kathy_fit_foodie on Instagram.
And
Great.
that's Kathy with a K.
Kathy with a K.
Okay.
That's fantastic. And next time we're in Vegas, we'll be sure to look you up one way or another. We'll find some way.
Yes, please, please.
Excellent.
So this is Passage to Profit, and we're in the final segment here. Stay tuned. We've got more to come on WOR 710, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventor Show on WOR 710, the voice of New York. And if you're just tuning in, you missed some great stuff, but you can catch it on our podcast tomorrow, or you can see it on our YouTube channel. And we're also all over social media, Passage to Profit Show. Now, our final presenter is somebody who I spoke to, and I just think what she does is so different and so cool. And I'm going to let her explain it. Her name is Alicia Myronic, and she has Myrony. Welcome, Alicia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here, and it's been amazing to meet everyone else. Myrony is a word I've created where it's my irony, and it's the crazy coincidences that happen in life that we can't explain. It's also another word for sign or synchronicity, but it actually has its own definition because it's synchronicity in motion. We may see a sign, but then there's an action we can take when we trust that inner knowing. So yes, everyone has these Myronic experiences, just not the way I spell my last name, because that's actually how it's pronounced. And so that's Myrony, which I have a podcast. And I'm also creating a movement for people to share their Myronies in addition to their selfies on social media, because Myrony is literally the opposite of selfie.
Right.
Oh, fascinating. Can you explain that a little bit more?
I guess the person who's going to be creating this has to have some crazy stories, right? And so my story started 16 years ago when my father was terminally ill, and I was basically engaged and married in 6 days at in the same hospital I was born in. My dad was in hospice care in the hospital. And so I was actually born, engaged, and married in the same hospital. So if anybody wants to hear this crazy story, you go to my podcast, That's Myrony, and explain this whole story. But I would see these signs that, like, literally the first wedding dress I tried on ended up being the dress of my dreams. The shoes were the last pair of my size. The day before I got married, it was torrential downpour, where the reception was going to be in the courtyard of this hospital. It was such torrential downpour. I was, joking, like, what are you going to do? The only option was, to be in the cafeteria of this hospital. And that's when I truly said, if there truly is a God, he will not take this away from my father. And the next day was one of the most beautiful days I ever witnessed in my life. I'm actually from New Jersey. I'm in San Jose, California now. But it was a California day. If you guys on the East Coast, after a rain like that, it'd be humid, hot, humid, end of August. It was mid-70s, not a cloud in the sky, not a drop of rain. So that's when I started recognizing these signs. And then about 5 years ago, when I was in sales, people would ask, hey, how do you say your last name? I say, it's like ironic with an M. And then I would add, there's a lot of Myrony in my life. And I get a little chuckle. And then again, would see these signs. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is a universal word for everybody. My irony. It's your own personal irony, whatever you want to say. But, it's these signs that we can't explain. And so I really would love to see people share this on their social media. Give another form of content besides just selfies, because Myrony is something so much greater than ourselves.
I love this. I think this is great because there's a lot of signs I've had in my own life where I'm like, that means something, right? I guess my question for you, how do you know when you see a sign, right? And then the second part of my question is, then what do you do? Like, when do you know when to follow? Like, what discernment? Like, how do you exercise that?
So one of the biggest things with this is you'll see a sign, yeah, and just pay attention to it. Just even acknowledging it, but really then trust that intuitive pull that you get, that gut feeling. Because when you have that gut feeling, chances are there's something you can do in addition to that. So I actually have a really funny Myrony that Elizabeth, you brought up about Instigate AI. I actually know the founder, Mark Cantor. But here's the biggest Myrony. It's actually his birthday today.
Oh my gosh. Happy birthday, Mark. We'll have to tell him we gave him a shout out today.
Yeah. I mean, I was, like that's Myrony, right?
Right.
Like that's a pretty funny little, but so going back to you, Kenya, you'll have this feeling, you'll be like, huh, that's really funny. And then sometimes it's almost like we got to get hit upside the head, and you'll see it a couple of times. But when you start seeing it, but when you really, really become in tune to it, I actually say we discover Myrony and our inner superpower. And that inner superpower, I like to call mine my spiritual spidey sense, but it's that that awareness, that deeper awareness, that when you really become in tune with it, then you start seeing the pieces that connect to our puzzle we call life.
So do you believe in karma?
I do believe in karma. Yes.
And how does that compare with Myrony? I mean, how do those two pieces work together?
Well, I mean, karma is on a much, much bigger scale. Myrony really is just it's a new way of looking at synchronicity. I think it's a more modern way of saying synchronicity. But why I say it's synchronicity in motion is that I have discovered that when people, and a lot of entrepreneurs will experience a lot of Myronies, because sometimes it's that chance meeting that then ends up being the biggest catalyst.
I think there's no shortage of really unique ideas out there. This is certainly a very unique idea. Angels, we always like to see businesses that are created out of a personal experience, a personal need. I think it's fantastic. I mean, there could be a lot with social media. These types of ideas can really skyrocket very, very quickly. The challenge that you're going to have is, you're going to be a B2C, not a B2B. And that's the same with Catherine and Brianne, is that you're B2C. And that, you're doing business in increments at a time as compared to doing B2B where you can get big contracts. So that's always going to be the challenge for your businesses as each one of you scale.
Well, I just want to add to your comments, Alicia, about entrepreneurs. So Your Heart Law was started as an entrepreneurial endeavor after I left Novartis Pharmaceuticals as the head of intellectual property there. And a lot of the decisions you just don't have time to make or fully research every decision that you're going to make. And so you do have to make a lot of gut decisions. And of course, sometimes you can make the wrong ones. But I think that everyone who's in the early stages of the business has to have some sort of sense or gut or something to move at the speed that they need to move at to make their project work. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the strongest things, is that when we can trust our own inner knowing, that's one of the things I always tell people, just trust that. When our mind that decides to play the hamster wheel just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning, it's just like, take a moment, sit with your heart and your soul and feel, what is that really saying? And it's really amazing. And when people start becoming more in tune with these signs, you'll just be amazed. Literally miracles in your life and in others will happen. It's really incredible.
I had a super quick question. How do you train that gut feeling though? Because I hear people say, "Oh, you got to trust your gut." Like, how do you know? Like, I could feel a bunch of things and then still be the queen of overthinking. So, how do you know how to train that, and what does that really feel like when you know what you're supposed to do?
Well, when you're basically, your head is just like spinning, spinning, spinning. But then something deeper inside you will just be like, no, do this, or you're going to. So I'm going to be interested to follow up with you, Kenya, down the line, because I think the funny thing is that once I start sharing about Myrony, people start seeing their Myronies. They start, it's almost immediate. It's really pretty cool. So, you know, just really trusting that inner knowing, that's what you want to listen to.
I had kind of a Myrony. I had put out to the universe that I was getting a cat for Christmas, and I pushed it up a week and I got the wrong cat. So if anybody listens to last week's episode, you'll see what happened. And I actually had to return that cat because the signs were there and the universe was like, no, you told me to get you a cat this week. So anyway, we did get a cat and we got the perfect cat. But, you know, I really screwed up because I tried to rush something and it wasn't time, right? I didn't look at the signs.
That's really funny. Yeah. So as I say, when I say God, basically my little logo behind me with Myrony has a little winky face that I call Winky. And I say that as God is love with an awesome sense of humor, which includes the universe, whatever anybody wants to say. But the truth is, it's just recognizing something that's greater than ourselves. The reason why I take the I out of the irony, so it's just Myrony, Myrony, is that it's not about I, it's about we, and it's about something so much greater.
This show is pretty how do you say the word? Synchronistic?
It is.
That I feel like every week for like 100 episodes, the right people have been on and the right conversations have been happening. Don't you, Richard, Elizabeth, don't you agree? I feel like it's always such a nice flow.
Well, I have another, I have the word is actually Myronistic. You can add now.
You got to trademark these things, you know? So
I actually am in the process of trademarking
good.
all of
We're
this.
glad to hear it.
Well,
You need a good trademark attorney? I could refer one to you.
You know what's really funny? Mark Cantor connected me to my business partner, who's an intellectual property trademark patent lawyer.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, it sounds like you're in good hands. That's the important thing.
Well, yeah. So I really feel like right now people are looking inside more. And so really
because they got no place to go.
Right.
I mean,
But where else do you look? But how do you pick people for your podcast? Like if I wanted to be on your podcast with my weird cat story or whatever, how do you choose who gets to go on?
I ask people if you have a Myrony that you want to share, you know, that your stories, and that's why entrepreneurs definitely, there's so many hills and valleys in what we do. And, you know, I mean, yes, that's a cute story, Elizabeth, with your cat, but we need to spill a little bit more than that. But but usually when I start
talk for a whole podcast, no problem.
But yeah, when we start getting into it, people start recognizing, you know, these incredible. So like I have an episode coming out this coming Saturday where she was the sixth. Her name's Tamara Weinberg. She was the sixth employee of Mashable. And then because she had actually dealt with postpartum depression and then had a major loss, she's now creating a fragrance line that is meant for mental health and the Myronies that are connected to it. So if you have a story, chances are if you have a story you want to tell, I would love to have you as a guest on my podcast.
Excellent. And that the people can find you at the website. That's Myrony, MYRONY.com.
Correct. Yep. And I'm all on social media, you know, Facebook, Instagram. And then anybody who wants to email me can email me at Alicia@that'smyrony. So that's ALYSHA@that'smyrony.com.
Well, that's great. So listeners, if you're interested in sharing your Myronic story.
Yes, it's actually Myronic.
By all means, make sure that you contact Alicia.
Or if you want to hear Myronic stories, listen to our podcast, right?
Yeah,
yes.
I'm intrigued. So this could be a new thing, and I love hearing about all these coincidences because you never know. So thank you very much for joining us, and you're listening to Passage to Profit. Be right back. We've got some more coming up after this commercial message.
Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventor Show on WOR 710, the voice of New York.
This has been such an incredibly fun show. I've had such a good time.
Right. We're coming to the end of the show. If you've missed it, don't worry. Go to our YouTube channel, go to our podcast. We're on all the major podcasting platforms. Go to iHeart first, of course, because this is an iHeart show. Passage to Profit show.
And why don't you wrap things up for us?
I will.
Like you do so well so many times.
So our guest was an angel investor, Sandy Wollman, at westchesterangels.com. And you can find him on LinkedIn. We had our Power Move segment, which is pretty cool, with Kenya Gibson with a P, Kenya Gibson at iHeartMedia.com. So iHeart does a lot in the digital advertising space. They're cutting edge. They do a lot with radio stations, obviously.
And as we say every show, Gerhardt Law has been dependent on iHeart Digital Services now for several years. They're fantastic. They've got brilliant people who work, and their stuff really works well. And so we're here to prove that's the case.
And we say advertising on radios is an effective low-cost solution compared to TV or what have you. So if you have any needs like that, Kenya Gibson at iHeartMedia.com. Then we had Brianne Cohen, virtual wine tasting, and she has got this really great way of doing it, and it's really fun, and she puts herself into it, and her personality is to die for.
It's bubbly.
You want to be her best friend because she's so fun. So her website is BrianneCohen.com, BrianneCohen.com. Then we had Catherine Kelly with Las Vegas Food Tours, and her website is tastebuzzvegas.com. And she's doing some really great things. And what I love about her, it's like you get tapas, but you get a little bit of tapas from a whole bunch of different restaurants. So you could try Korean food one bite, and the next bite could be Mexican food, and etc.
She'll bring you the authentic Las Vegas.
Yeah, she knows all about Las Vegas from a local's perspective. So that is really fun too. And then we had Alicia Myronic with That's Myrony, ThatsMyrony.com, talking about all the coincidences in life that really lead you the direction you're supposed to be going. And she has a podcast. So
I bet if you tune into the podcast, you'll get a better sense of your own Myrony.
I think you will, and it'll help you connect. Anyway, just very, very interesting project. So
that's great.
That's who we had.
So before we sign off, any final words from our guest this evening? Sandy, any comments?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I had a really good time. And I want to wish all the young ladies the best of luck in scaling your business. And thank you for including me. I'm very grateful.
Well, that's great. It was great having you. And we really enjoyed having you on the show. So
you added a lot of value. Thank you.
Added a lot.
Thank you. I'm glad to.
Yeah. Kenya, any final thoughts before we leave?
Yeah, I just want to say it was a great show, a lot of great insight, great ideas, and an awesome exchange. So I wish everyone the best as well.
That's great. So this is Richard and Elizabeth Gerhardt on Passage to Profit signing off. You're listening to us on WOR 710, the voice of New York.